I'm still very bullish on XCN despite the quote-unquote boring times, and $1 is still my price target for this bull run. Now, people may be thinking, okay, what makes you think so? And even though nothing I say is financial advice, what I take a look at as of right now when it comes to the whole space overall, it really reminds me of back in 2021. What do I mean by this? Take a look at back then, that year, around the time of March, let's say early April. Things didn't seem that exciting. Some people, they were iffy. Personally, I know a friend who put $30,000 into Dogecoin at that time and very quickly took it out because he was like, oh man, it's done. But we all know what happened to Dogecoin a number of months later. And I'm not telling anyone to buy cryptocurrencies. I'm not saying that. I can only speak on my behalf. But back then, things were a little bit kind of boring at that time. People were kind of iffy. And then we all know what happened months later when Dogecoin reached over $80 billion in market cap, along with a bunch of other altcoins doing hypothetically very well. Now, the way you take a look at it is that as of right now, it kind of reminds me of that, which is why I'm not giving up when it comes to XCN. I do believe that better days are ahead, because when people say that XCN is done, it has no future, are they saying that XLM and XRP is also done? I don't think so in some cases, right? Which is why I don't think XCN is done. As long as XRP and XLM is still going to continue to thrive, which a lot of people do believe that, I think it's only fair to assume that something like XCN is hypothetically going to tag along with the ride, because you take a look at, for instance, if someone says, hey, Bitcoin, let's say, for a make-believe scenario, is going to go to the price of $500,000, and then let's say Ethereum at that point is going to go to the price of $100. That doesn't really make sense, right? Because if Bitcoin does do that well, typically something like Ethereum is going to tag along with the ride. And the reason why I think XCN is going to tag along with XRP and XLM is because it's pretty much focused on the exact same markets. Global trade and finance, payments market, financial services, pretty much focus on that area. XCN is basically like XLM or XRP, but with way less fans and way less hype. That's pretty much it. Nothing wrong with that, because the way to take a look at it is that naturally people are going to pay attention to XCN, because if let's say there's a fully fledged bull run and XRP reaches amazing heights, XLM reaches amazing heights, which I hypothetically do believe they will, some people at that point, they're going to be like, okay, wait, hold up. They're already doing very amazing. What is another alternative? Because there must be, right? I think some people may think that way. And XCN is waiting there in the wings. XCN is not a small project by any means. But the way to take a look at it is that because of this price pullback, as of right now, it's hypothetically looking very appetizing to me in terms of acquiring, in terms of still believing in this. Because the way to take a look at it is that the lower the price, hypothetically, the more room it has to grow. I don't want XCN to go down forever, of course, but as of right now, if people do believe that, let's say, the bull run is far from over, but then they don't like the prices right now, personally, if I was in that mindset, like I can only speak on my behalf again, I just want to understand it, because if I personally do believe that the bull run is far from over, which I do, and I see low prices right now, and I'm bearish suddenly, that makes no sense, right? Because I still believe in the future of the market. So when I see low prices, if anything, the way to take a look at it is that if I'm acquiring right now, hypothetically, once the market does go up again, I think that could hypothetically be good for me, which is why I haven't given up when it comes to XCN. Now, we have to take this into consideration as well. Let's say the bull run is starting to pick up. Let's say it's in third, fourth, or fifth gear. And then when it comes to Onyx, they launched the testnet of Goliath, which is going to be this hypothetically very amazing layer 1 blockchain for the world of finance. Again, if they launch the testnet at that time, which kind of might make sense because they're aiming to launch the testnet of Goliath in Q3 of this year, which could be a time where altcoins start picking up, only time will tell. But let's say it coincides, right? Let's say it's like at a good timing where once the market starts picking up again, and then they actually do what they intend to do and launch the testnet of Goliath in Q3 of this year, that could be such a major catalyst. Just think about this, right? XCN did that well not too long ago without hype about this. The only reason why news about Goliath and its future potential adoption and also its future potential just in general, I think the reason why it's kind of muted, the reason why it's kind of dialed back is because the market isn't doing good. So of course, let's say news, or should I say very good news, comes out like, hey, we're going to be launching the testnet of Goliath this year. It doesn't really have the same buzz and attention, if that makes sense. But really, the way I put this into perspective is the fact that once the market picks up again, what we saw previously when it comes to XCN could very well just be amplified in such a fantastic way, because the way to take a look at it was that XCN did that well not too long ago, just solely because of the fact that people thought that, hey, this is very similar to XRP and XLM. We're going to believe in it. But then there wasn't really much to latch onto other than that, right? Now there's more to latch onto. You take a look at Goliath, for instance, its potential. Also, not to mention the community that we have when it comes to Onyx as of right now, which is very passionate. There's more to latch onto as of right now. However, the price really hasn't reflected that because the market is down. But really, I do believe that these are actually very good factors, but then the problem is that the market hasn't picked up again. When I take a look at something like Onyx, it just focused on too good of a market. The payments market is currently valued at over $2 trillion. The global trading and finance market, according to Mordor Intelligence, is expected to reach $5 trillion by 2028. XRP has a bright future. XLM has a bright future. I don't see why XCN won't go along with the ride as well, especially once the bull run picks up again. And the crazy thing about XCN is that the competition really isn't that stiff. The only competition I would say that it has as of right now is XDC. That's pretty much it. The reason being is because we all know XCN is never going to defeat XLM or XRP. But then, on the flip side, there really isn't that many dynamic competitors for XCN as of right now. XDC is pretty much it. So the way to take a look at it is that XCN, focus on the right market, not that many good dynamic competitors, and also on top of that, it has a very good and passionate community. This is a no-brainer for me. You know, we've seen Dogecoin, again, like I mentioned earlier in the video, reach over $80 billion in market cap. Also, we've seen Shiba Inu reach around $40 billion. Even XRP, as of right now, has a market cap that is well beyond $100 billion. Now, if I say that, right, and I say that, hey, a project that is pretty much kind of like a miniature version of XRP going to around a $32.5 billion market cap, is that too much to ask for? Some people would say, oh yeah, that's not too much to ask for. And actually, in reality, if XCN were to go to the price of $1, considering current circulating supply, the market cap would be that, right? Again, around $32.5 billion in market cap. So it's actually not too much to ask for, at least in my opinion. I get it, because the price of XCN did go down. It's now around an 86x from here again at the price of $1. But for me, isn't that kind of the point? You know, I don't want to FOMO into XCN later once it goes to the price of 50 cents or whatever. That's just not my style. The way you take a look at it is that I want to FOMO right now. So then later on, I'm not going to be panicking. I am not giving up when it comes to XCN $1. That's still my price target. And I think this born to be very special. I think near the end of this year, we'll see. But still, historically, that has been a good case as to when usually altcoins peak, because usually altcoins peak around 18 months after a Bitcoin halving event as a worst case scenario. And the last Bitcoin halving event happened back in April. So that would actually mean around October this year. And I'm, of course, talking about April of 2024. So again, around October this year. So that's why I'm paying attention to near the end of this year. It's not a surefire date, but I'll pay attention to it nonetheless. And I'll still be dollar cost averaging, acquiring, holding, and just waiting when it comes to XCN as of right now. $1, that's still my price target for this bull run. And make sure to subscribe if you gain value from this video. Greatly appreciate it. It's been Lee the Captain, and I'll catch y'all on the next one. I'm on peace. Bye.